Welcome to the next episode of the GSD Golf Podcast. I am your host, AT, proud parent of a junior golfer, and someone who's always thought this whole college golf recruiting process has been confusing, is beginning to look a little stressful. It's the fear of the unknown. What if I told you it didn't have to be so challenging? It didn't have to be so stressful. This college recruiting process doesn't need to be so daunting. Well, today's guest here on the GSD Golf Podcast has helped countless junior golfers navigate the recruiting process, navigate the path to college golf with over 20 years of coaching experience at some of the highest Division I schools. Please welcome to the GSD Golf Podcast, Michael Burson. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on, and thanks for being patient with my schedule. And I'm thrilled. I just enjoyed talking golf, so it's great.
Well, back at you, and I think, schedules are hard to juggle as it is, but, when I think about the time that it takes to make this happen, I think about some of the accolades for some reason that you have accomplished and all the things that you've done in the game of golf. I mean, big time Division I, University of South Carolina, University of Wisconsin. You've done just about all at the collegiate level. Does that sound about accurate?
I've been at some neat places. Yeah. I mean, I think coaches are never as successful as, the players that we have. So everything that I was able to do is really a compliment to the kids that I was surrounded by. So yeah, it was really fun. I think growing up as a kid, I always had aspirations of being in that environment and to work at places like South Carolina, and then, to get that opportunity at Wisconsin and work for Barry Alvarez, who I knew as a kid. And leave kind of on my own terms as well. I remember Steve Spurrier always used to say his goal was to not get fired.
As a college coach, right? You want to leave on your own terms for sure.
Yeah. So I had a blast, take away some extreme circumstances that happened to the world a couple of years ago. I think I still would have been in it, but I've also really enjoyed the change of pace too.
So you step away from the collegiate coaching level and you probably took a deep breath and you decided to launch Under Par Consulting. What motivated you to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, so it was really just a bunch of things kind of falling in line unexpectedly. COVID, the Big Ten kind of took the year off, so we weren't coaching. We were getting a chance to kind of travel as a family. My assistant coach left. There was going to be a change in leadership at the athletic department at Wisconsin. And I don't know, it was just all those things happening at the same time. I had a couple players leave that did not take their COVID year that were great players that went on to play professional golf. So we were actually down here in Charleston seeing some friends, and I actually brought it up to my wife. I said, why don't we move back here? We had always wanted to do that. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I got no idea. So, the recruiting stuff for me, I was super familiar with it. I had recruited at two, Division I programs, very different places as well. And then also saw an opportunity with, another avenue of the business. So yeah, it was motivated purely out of just wanting to make a change for our family. I was kind of, I didn't mind the 120 days a year of travel, but I was starting to realize what I was missing when I was doing that. Yeah. And it's been terrific for us as our kind of small family of three. It's been a terrific change.
That's awesome. So a gap in the world of junior golf, college recruiting space, what's the biggest gap you saw since you've launched Under Par Consulting that you're seeing where your skill set is able to lend a little bit of a helping hand to those junior golfers and their families?
Yeah. So when I was a couple of years, I had still a couple of years in front of me to coach, not knowing I was going to get out, but we were starting to be asked about, hey, what would you think if your roster was reduced? What would you think if you were given more scholarship? I think I had that first conversation with my sport administrator probably in 2018. So it was starting to be talked about. The transfer portal was there when I was coaching. the cutting down of the rosters, that totally came out of left field. Not a lot of people knew that was coming.
And real quick, Mike,
But
on that one, for those that don't know, college golf rosters, correct me if I'm wrong here, went from 11 and 12 to 9. Is that what it is?
Roughly. Yeah, I would say most rosters were 9 to 11, and now you have about 100 schools that are 8 or 9, kind of at a hard cap. There's still 1,200 programs that doesn't affect. It didn't affect the girls' side, so it's a small number, but it does have trickle down to all levels when you combine it with the transfer portal for sure. So yeah, we had started to kind of hear about it. I think, listen, I was in the weeds with the portal. I was, there when we were starting to do some of the roster changes. So I think I've got a perspective that's maybe a little different than some. I don't have all the answers. I tell everybody right up front, but I was in a lot of recruiting situations in 17 years, hundreds. And I think I have a very interesting perspective from just all those scenarios, all those situations and types of kids and families that we interacted with.
And what's the biggest, because as a parent of a junior golfer and someone who I didn't play golf until I got older in life. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that as parents we have about college golf recruiting process?
Yeah, I would say there's two that I hear all the time. One, there's this one specific tour that you have to play and you're not going to get recruited unless you play this one tour. I used to hear that when I coached. We all know what that tour is. I personally think that tour is absolutely fantastic. They run probably the best events, but it is in no means the end all be all. I coached a lot of kids at both schools that played 0 to 1 of those events. So I think that's probably the number one. I think parents have a way of misunderstanding how their involvement can be helpful and hurtful. I think coaches recruit families as much as they recruit the kid. And, when I was coaching, whenever I saw a parent pushing a pull cart from the car to the range, or standing on the range with players, or carrying all the food, or we joke about it as coaches, but we played good, we struggled, we played well. Those are all huge red flag coaches. That player really needs to be self-sufficient, and you're going to do that player a lot more good as far as their future chances of success if they're responsible for their process, and they're responsible for getting food, and they're responsible for having a hand in the scheduling. So I think that's a big piece as well.
The player, the student athlete, taking ownership of almost everything from what they wear to how they perform to how they prepare, how they regroup after, is kind of what you're saying in that aspect of things. Yeah.
And I understand, like, coaches, parents need to pay the bills and they need to sign the checks for the tournament, plane
right.
tickets and all that. I get that 100%. But for the most part, like at the event, the player needs, it's their deal.
It's their time.
And parents. Yeah. And they really need to step away. And I would say after play too, right? Other than, I know with our own daughter, when she walks in the door from her match night, I'm going to ask her if she had fun. And then that's it. We're not going to talk about it. Kids know when they play bad, and they know when they play good. And generally they don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. That's okay. And we need to be okay with that as parents, regardless of the sport.
I love that. As our juniors, as our junior golfers, junior student athletes progress, at what age, again, there's a lot of unknowns about the recruiting process for the game of golf. At what age should junior golfers start thinking about college golf? At what age should they start that process of looking that far down the road?
Probably their sophomore year. And that process hits the accelerator the higher they're ranked. On the men's side, if you have a kid that's in the top 400 sometime in that sophomore year with a summer ahead of them leading into their junior year, there's a chance maybe by the end of the summer they're in the top 150, and then things are going to go fast, really fast. On the girls' side, that number may be a little bit different. So there's no harm in reaching out to coaches as a sophomore. You can't get a lot of response, but you can, they can have your schedule. They know who you are. You may get a camp invite regardless of your rank. Just being aware that where you're ranked kind of the end of that summer before your junior year is going to have a huge influence on how fast the process goes. And I think too, right, I think sometimes people get caught up in, well, I'm ranked X, when really it's a matter of, well, what are you ranked and when are you ranked that, right?
Okay.
A senior ranked 150 who was ranked 450 when they were juniors, that 150 isn't as impactful as the 450 that they were the year before. So you really have to be aware of what your ranking is.
And can you talk a little bit about that? Why is there a difference between, even though they're ranked slightly higher their senior year than they were their junior year? Why is that more impactful?
Just, as we go every day, as we get really past August leading up to your junior year, more programs are going to be closer to being done, especially those 100 programs on the men's side on the D1 level. Yep. So, when we get into senior year, there's going to be a lot of programs that are going to be done, going to be close to being done. Doesn't mean there won't be opportunities with those players. I think oftentimes state schools have a way of figuring out a way to have room for an in-state kid that really excels at a really high level. Sometimes those things work out. But in general, you really have to be aware of, what does my ranking mean as far as the timing of my recruitment? Rankings are way overstressed. I hate when I talk to freshmen and sophomores and that's what they're focusing on because it's not super helpful at that point. But it is imperative to know what your ranking means as far as how that commitment's going to play out, that window.
Okay, good to know. And when you think about the recruiting process from when you were an active coach and you were recruiting players to come to you, and now you're consulting and you're guiding these junior athletes or junior golfers through the recruiting process, how has that changed?
Yeah, it's the two places that I was at, a very small sample size, right? 2 schools.
Yeah.
It's completely different. It's not even remotely like it used to be. Yeah, I mean, the state that I live in now has 2 major Division I programs in Clemson and South Carolina. In a 4-year window, those 2 programs, we would have brought in probably 30 kids, 25 to 30 kids in a 4-year window. Probably 2/3 of those kids would be in-state kids. Yep. Now I bet those 2 programs in a 4-year window will bring in 15 to 19 kids.
So less kids are coming in, same year span. Why the difference?
The recruiting changes, the NCAA changes, the smaller rosters, the transfer portal. If a team needs 2 kids, they're probably only going to bring in 1 high school kid, and they're going to go to the portal and get a kid. And why wouldn't you? You get a kid that's seasoned and has some college. I think in all sports, from what I'm hearing, it's even worse in basketball. They've completely stopped recruiting high school kids.
I think John Calipari said it, where he said we don't recruit. Maybe it was Rick Pitino. Somebody was saying we don't recruit high school kids anymore because we can just go to the portal. And as you said, they get someone that can prove they're a student athlete. They can prove they can handle the stresses of practice and competition. And I'm assuming the same thing is at play for golf.
Yeah. When you add the portal to the NCAA legislation changes and the continued uptick of foreign recruiting, international recruiting, it's way different. Completely different. On top of, you have kids trying to get paid.
Trying to get that NIL
small detail we haven't hit on.
Small detail. The NIL money is real. But with what Michael is saying is, while that is all true, all is not lost for our high school student athletes. There is still opportunity out there. Michael, what role does, and you talked a little bit earlier about watching the parents' interaction with their juniors and how that plays out. What role do the parents actually have in the recruiting process?
I think parents play a huge part in expectation management. And what I really try to help families with from the get-go is the understanding of, okay, there's roughly 1,300 programs on the men's side and 1,300 on the women's side. These changes essentially are affecting 100 programs on the men's side. That's it.
Okay.
So 2,600 programs, let's say on average 3 kids a year, there are still thousands of kids that can play college golf. And I tell every kid, if you want to play college golf, you will play college golf. So parents can really, really be helpful in pushing that narrative, of, hey, let's just try to get better today and let's try to get better tomorrow and we'll find a place to play. That's I think it's really sad when families or kids get to this certain point and they say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to play at X big school, one of those big schools that we watch play football on the weekends. And then they just kind of remove themselves from the process and they're like, I'm just not going to play college golf. I think that's really sad. I think it's just a tremendously life-changing opportunity to be a college athlete. And that's why remembering that opportunity is everywhere is so important for the whole family.
I had a chance to meet Dan Wesley from University of Rochester. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but Dan was at a camp and he was talking to the parents, and he said very similar to what you had to say there. He said, if your student athlete wants to play golf at the collegiate level, there's a place for them. You just have to be selective and realistic around where you're looking to play. And as he did say, this was after the transfer portal has opened, and he did say there's plenty of times where a student athlete will come to a Division III school, excel on and off the course, and that transfer portal is open to go up to the Division I level. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's an opportunity that's out there. So the options are still there. So the parents are actively involved, having these real conversations. They stumble upon Under Par Consulting. How can they figure out, how can they get in touch with you, and what resources can you help provide a student athlete and their families?
Yeah, what's really important to me is I don't think there's a lot of copy and pasting in recruiting. I don't think you can schedule the same way as your neighbor. I don't think you're going to go through the process the same. So what I really try to do is have an initial conversation with a family, and then I go to the rankings and see where that kid is, what class are they in, and then what timing are we in the cycle. Are we in October of your junior year, or are we later? That is how we build a program for a player as far as what they're going to need. A junior that's ranked 150 in their class is very different than a junior that's ranked 600 in their class, and those families should not be in the same program.
Right.
They shouldn't, because the timing is completely different. I try to kind of give some tidbits of information out on Instagram. We're here to help families. We're here to provide some guidance, but I also think it's really important, even if they don't, decide that this is the right fit, we want to help educate families. Because there's so much misinformation. And if a mom or a dad finds something, from us on Instagram that they see as helpful and it helps them, regardless if we work with them or not, then that's a win for me. So much misinformation out there.
There really is. And I will say, Under Par Consulting, you can find them on Instagram, a ton of great free resources. Michael, you do have a great program where families can get involved with you through the recruiting process, help put a program together for their student athlete. The student athlete has to, as you said earlier, be engaged, want this more than the parents want it. I like to say that a lot too. The kid needs to want this and not be pushed to it. What's your connection to the family, to the student athlete, after they come on board with a program? Are you still actively involved? Because we've seen some programs and some resources out there where it becomes a completely virtual text to read, no human interaction between the programs.
Yeah, we try to reach out every 7 to 10 days, and that's different depending on if they're playing tournaments. It's different if this is a kid that we're helping with course management, and we have one of our other advisors with them. We have a super small team, but we do have some guys that kind of go out on the road with players. So yeah, this time of year, it's very much of, hey, it's a responsive process. So when kids get responses from coaches, whether they're good, bad, indifferent, they want to schedule calls or visits. I tell, our families, hey, let me know every time you get a response, send it. Because our guidance is only as good as being updated on what's the latest with your communication with coaches. This process, this role that we are in is not near as fun if the engagement is not good on both sides. It's just not. So I want families, I want parents to schedule calls on Wednesday mornings when their kids are at school and say, hey, can we prick your brain on something, maybe more parent sided.
Sure.
I like those conversations. Those are fun. Yeah, engagement's really, really important. I would say this: the process gets painful quick when two things happen. One, the player is not engaged, or the family has taken the point of view that we are going to wait until we play well, and then we will get engaged in the recruiting process.
Talk about that, because I think that's something that's a misconception. I remember being at a tournament. The boys were getting ready to tee off, and one of the boys that was playing, his parents were there, and I was talking with them. I knew them from somewhere, and he said, I remember the dad saying, well, we're here. We can't start the recruiting process until he starts putting some low scores up.
Yeah.
Is that
so
online there?
So I would say to that, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What are low scores? And especially when you get close to that junior year, if you're not going to engage coaches, well, somebody else is. And if a kid engages coaches on a proper timeline, and then they take off and they're playing at a much higher level, and we have to engage new coaches, that's a wonderful problem to have. The worst case scenario is somebody that is kind of waiting until they're going to play well, and then we're in their senior year and we're having to play catch up. And there's plenty of schools looking in that timeline, but a lot of those schools have had relationships with families for 9 months that they've been talking to. So yeah, just don't wait until you kind of play well, in quotations. That's when it gets really stressful.
It's almost like you can start the conversations, and if your play then catches up to those conversations, you're already in the sweet spot, as opposed to kind of you're playing well, but you're not communicating, and nobody really knows that you're out there.
Yeah. And when we're talking about D2s and D3s, a lot of those schools will be still recruiting into the senior year of a player. Okay. So if we start engaging them as juniors, while we are also engaging Division I schools, and some of these D2s and D3s really become interested in a player, well, those schools are still going to be there, right? They're still going to be there your senior year. That's just, it's not bad. It's not good. Right? It's the way it works. Yep. So we want to be proactive from the start.
So we're talking a lot about the recruiting process based on how the student athlete is performing on the course during their tournaments, what their rankings are. But I have to just ask the question, and I know the answer to this, but talk to us about how important academics are for this entire process.
Yeah, they're super important. And then I think, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer that when we start looking at smaller schools, that golf is going to give me this opportunity to get into a certain school academically, right? Maybe golf is going to give me an opportunity to go to Columbia or Rhodes, right? High-end smaller school. Those smaller schools, it actually works different, right? The schools are kind of running the athletic department, excuse me. So they're telling the coach who they can recruit based on academics. So there is a clearance period where that coach has to know, hey, he or she can get you into school. So it actually doesn't, academics are not necessarily the turnkey, or golf is not the turnkey to get you into school. You really need to do both. And academics are vitally important on their own. I mean, how much harder are the state schools to get into, compared to when we were kids? It's wildly different. Yeah. Wildly different. So yeah, I would say too, when you get to school, if you have your academics under control, that's a stressor that you've removed from your plate. It's going to help you play better golf. Um, so yeah, academics are always important.
So you have your academics, you have tournament play is hugely important. You want to be shooting the scores. If you can think about, I would say there are two top things. What's something else that a junior golfer, a student athlete should be considering as they start thinking about where they want to go to college, and is it a fit for their game?
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to consider how much different a college golf environment is from any other golf environment you've been in, high school golf. When you go to college, hopefully you're in a situation, you're going to get coached and you're going to get pushed to make changes. And you're probably going to become very uncomfortable at times because you're going to be asked to make changes and do things that you've never done before, right? High school golf is not an environment where that happens very often. Nobody's fault. It's just what it is.
That's universal, right? High school golf is very interesting.
Yeah, it's just what it is. And outside of high school golf, we're just playing individual golf. Well, when you go to college, you're going to be playing for a coach that is there to coach golf, and they're there to make you better. So players really need to be open-minded to, you know what, I may not have it all figured out. You want to go somewhere where someone's going to coach you, someone's going to challenge you, someone's going to make you better, make you uncomfortable. I think that's really, really important. I think a lot of times, kids go to school and they are uncomfortable and they've never been uncomfortable before, and it's really a shock to the system. And what do you mean I'm not in the lineup? Well, got to play better. Yeah. So being aware that that's going to happen, and that's part of it, and it's not a negative. It's going to actually make you better.
GSD Golf Community, we're on with Michael Burson from Underpark Consulting. Michael, as we think about the recruiting process and we think about the involvement, you talked earlier about when the kid goes to school and you get a call from the parents just looking to talk through the parental side of things. What are what's some advice you can give to the parents out there to help them not feel as overwhelmed? Because there's parents out there, some of them that have been involved in the game of golf in this process. But as we've said before, the recruiting process for golf is unlike anything I've ever seen before, because in other sports, the coach can look across the field and see a kid that's 6'4", 240, runs a 4.3 40, and they're like, I could do something with that.
Yeah.
So parents are always talking about working out, doing all these other things. How can you help parents that may feel a little bit overwhelmed with all of this?
Yeah. I think it's really important just to have some perspective, right? I think college golf has become very black and white. What's your scores, what's your rank, and that's the initial starting point for everything. So I think if parents can really understand, you know what, this is who my kid is, this is what they're doing, this is what they're shooting, and that's okay, and he or she will get better. And they will play college golf if they want to, but just for some perspective as to, the more that a parent ramps up the stress as far as we need to play a certain level for a certain coach, that's really stressful. The more that they talk about rankings, that creates more stress. Just perspective as far as the process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And realizing that, listen, if you have a son or daughter that's lucky enough to be a college athlete, they have an easier time getting a job after school. That is proven in numerous studies. I've seen it up close. And it is going to do a tremendous amount of good for them as human beings. So any opportunity is a wonderful opportunity.
It's interesting you say that, because I think we sometimes forget that college golf is a team sport, and that team oriented nature, culture, camaraderie. I think that does go a long way when you get into the workforce and how you engage with other peers and colleagues. And I think that goes a long way. So that's a really great point. Michael, we know that you're really busy. Before we let you go, we want to hit you with a couple rapid fire questions here.
Yeah. Love it.
So best advice you've ever received as a coach?
It's interesting. So I received this tidbit from a father of a colleague of mine who is no longer with us, but he said, "Beware of the light that burns the brightest, the fastest."
Mm. Mm.
So I
You
think,
know, that's when you think about that, and that's a good point for some of our junior golfers out there that maybe aren't shooting the scores they want to be shooting now. Some of those kids that were shooting under par, no pun intended, maybe pun intended, 3-4 years ago, they may burn out before they even finish high school.
mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny when I coached, we had, you have colleagues, and we always joked about how we were going to do a research project and follow the top 25 kids in a class and then see what they do in college. The Jordan Spieth he was very good, very young. Those aren't the norm. The best players in a class usually don't end up playing pro golf at a high level. So,
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Beware of the light that burns the brightest, the fastest.
Beware of the light that burns the brightest, the fastest. I love that one. Favorite. Yeah. Now, when I wrote this up for you, I thought favorite golf course you've ever coached at. But let's say favorite golf course you've ever coached at or played at.
Oh boy, that's a good one. We was fortunate to play Augusta National with a team one time, so that was a pretty trip. Yeah, I mean, just coached at so many cool places. Whether it was Yale or Erin Hills, or there's hundreds of facilities out there that we got to go to. But
now, when you coached at Augusta National, did you get to play as well, or were you just?
Yeah. It was when I was at South Carolina, we would occasionally get invited by Mr. Johnson, the chairman at the time. He played football at South Carolina.
Yep.
So got to play once. Got to drop the kids off the gate and turn around and leave another time. But it's one of those places like you do it once and you're like, I'm good. If I don't ever do it again, I won't
ever have that talking point in your back pocket. I played Augusta National.
Yeah. So it was pretty fortunate.
What's one thing you wish every junior golfer knew?
The importance of course management.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think if you go to a college tournament and if you just go and spectate, go to the range, boy, everybody hits it good. Everybody hits it good. And the kids that don't hit it good don't hit it that bad. But really what separates really good players in college is course management and short. It really does. You can hit it. You should be able to hit it pretty bad and still play really, really good. People that get kind of caught up in like chasing ball striking, they usually don't reach their potential.
Course management and short game. Love it. Biggest trend you're seeing in college golf right now?
I love what PGA Tour U has done for men's golf. It keeps kids in school, gives them a carrot. I think they've done a great job of merging kind of PGA Tour events, those elite summer events, college golf, right? Those all kind of count towards the same thing. It has made the USA development team process very difficult, and that's a whole nother discussion. But it is those Chris Zambri and Tiffany Joe have a tall task on their hands with competing with those things. But I wish the girls would have the same thing. I don't understand why that hasn't been put into place yet. I think it's really neat.
In 2025, we were at that point.
And it's working, right? It's working. These guys are going out there and killing it. So it's super. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Michael from Under Par Consulting, before we let you go, tell us again, how can the GSD golf community get in touch with you? How can they reach out and get in touch with you to get some help?
Yeah, thank you. Instagram, Under Par Consulting. We have a website, underparconsulting.com. Shoot me an email, Coach Burson at underparconsulting.com. Send me a text. I'm available pretty much all day, every day, and just enjoy talking junior golf, college golf.
Michael. I didn't even check if you wanted to go by Mike or Michael, but everything I see says Michael. So Michael, thank you for joining the GSD Golf Podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
You too. GSD Golf community. What a conversation with Michael. Michael from Underpar Consulting. I mean, he just dropped so much knowledge on us about recruiting process, what we should be focused on, when we should be focused on it, and how important it is for our junior golf to take ownership of their range sessions, ownership of their meals and snacks on the course, ownership of their preparations before a tournament, ownership after the tournament, ownership of their grades and how important their grades are to the college recruiting process. Check them out, Underpar Consulting. You can on Instagram. You can find them on their website at underparconsulting.com. Michael and his team have put out a ton of great information, a lot of free information, and you can also sign up for some sessions. He's open for parent conversations, open to talking with our student athletes. It's a great resource. Check them out, Underpar Consulting. As always, we want to make 2025 the best golf season ever. I have to say, none of this is possible without our partners at Where's Woody. You can see their nice little logo right there. They've been proud partners of ours since day one. We're excited to continue that relationship. Let's continue to work hard at the game of golf. Let's continue to get a little bit better every time we go out. Let's make 2025 the best season ever. Let's go.